Hello, viewers. Thanks for joining us for another segment of Camera On with Authors Inside. Thank you for your support and all the love you've been giving us. We are this week in our panel. We have a very special guest, but I'm gonna let him introduce himself. My name is Emmanuel. I'm out of San Luis Obispo Central Coast chapter, and I'll let my panel introduce themselves. But before we get started, if you can hit the like button and subscribe so you can see notification every time we drop a segment. Go ahead, brother. Introduce yourself.
George K.L. Smith, Authors Inside, Alameda County.
Yes. And I'm John Yahya Johnson, co-founder of John Earl Limited, a nonprofit that's dedicated to youth mentoring and youth advocacy. I'm also a certified life coach, with above adequate, and yes, with my good brother George. And we looking to take the world by storm, man, and empower our youth to usher in a new era of transformational thinking and spirituality. And so, to just give you a little bit about my background and why I'm so passionate about youth empowerment and youth growth and development is that in 1995, when I was 23 years old, I was tried and convicted of second-degree robbery and sentenced to 30 years to life under the California Three Strikes Law, and sent to prison, for which I served 25 years. And one of the things that really struck me as odd was how many youth were incarcerated under a so-called habitual criminal statute. And when you typically think about a habitual criminal statute, you think about someone who is typically termed out, or better yet, when you think about the narrative, if you're familiar, when they were promoting the California Three Strikes Law, they talked about individuals who were violent, murderers, rapists, individuals who would serve 20 and 30 and 40 years of incarceration. And so when I was sentenced under the provision and got inside and started seeing other individuals who were sentenced under this draconian law at 22 years old, like myself, I scratched my head and I was like, where is the recidivism in this? But more importantly, where is the opportunities for youth before they're sentenced and thrown away for decades at a time and not invested in? And so one of the things that I did when I was inside was individuals who were similarly situated like myself, who were three strikers. We formed our own little coalition, and we would go to the law libraries and all of these different things and try to figure out ways how we can get out of prison on a law that we didn't think applied to us. And although we coalesced around ideas of law, we also started realizing that we had other similar things in common. And some of those things was trauma. Some of those things were being a latchkey kid and growing up at home and seeing too much on the block without supervision of parents, and not having anybody to talk to about those things, and leaving things to the imagination and exploring based on that imagination and getting in trouble. And so, we started to be each other's rock, if you will. And in trying to figure out solutions to get out of prison, we started trying to figure out solutions to best help ourselves to deal with the draconian long sentences of three strikes when there wasn't anybody inside to help us to navigate through the trajectory of such oppressive environments. And so I made it a point, man, to, when individuals came into prison, to do myself to pour into them to try to prevent them from getting life sentences. And if that took, spiritual conversations or whatever it took, schoolwork, we poured into individuals, because at some point, me being in the system, I understood what it was. And I understood it wasn't a mere coincidence that little Black and brown boys like me were being sentenced to these long prison sentences. And, we needed to do something about it. And so,
excuse me, John, not to cut you off, y'all. About how many of you were that formed the coalition and were aiding other individuals like yourself and trying to assist them? How many of them were you, would you say?
So I would say, so in New Folsom, I went to New Folsom in 1996 till 2008. And from that time, bro, I would say it was like 25 youngsters that was my age on a level 4 180 yard that had life sentences under the three strikes law. And interestingly enough, half of those individuals were non-affiliates. And so that offered a whole nother complexity within the prison political structure, right? Being in such high levels at such young ages, right? We had to coalesce again around each other tight in order to survive in an environment where we really didn't fit in other than by race, and that's being Black, right? And so when you think about the prison dynamic, you got Crips, you got Bloods, you got 415, you got BGF, you got Sereno, you got Norteño, you got all of these cliques and these groups, and then you have non-affiliates, right? And so being a non-affiliate, you know, with the prison politic, it was a little bit harder for us because we didn't have a ton of say-so when it came to the maneuverability of the yard and stuff. And so all of that stuff weighed on me, man. All of that stuff became the fuel to help me to look into myself. Because I'm like, man, how is it that at a certain age, I wouldn't even listen to my mama, right?
Yeah.
But now I got to go to prison and listen to a prison boss?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I got to go here now and be trying, you know, they try to court me into a situation so I can protect myself. I was in a dilemma about these things.
Yeah.
And so I started to realize that, man, listen, prison is not the environment for any human being to grow and thrive in. And I just made it a point, man. I resolved in myself that I wasn't going to accept my life sentence. I wasn't going to accept my condition of a three striker. I wasn't going to be conceptualized, you know what I'm saying, as a violent criminal under a draconian law that did not fit the bill for my particular situation. And I fought.
John, not to cut you off again, because this is some good stuff. I like how you well explained everything. Can you explain to our viewers when you say draconian law? What's the
draconian law? Okay, so when you think about so the three strike law was a law that was passed in the legislature under Assembly Bill 971 in March of 1994, and then it was put to the voters in the primary election in November under Proposition 184. And both of those laws advance what we now understand as the California Three Strikes Law. And essentially what the California Three Strike Law does is if you're convicted and if you're convicted of a crime and you're sent to prison and you're released and you commit a second felony offense, your primary term is then doubled, and then you're given an enhancement. So essentially on your second time, you're getting double whatever the crime would be, plus any additional enhancements. And so your sentence is increasing substantially. And if after your second time of being arrested and you get out and you come back as a third strike offender, then you're giving at the very minimum 3 times the base term of the crime that you're convicted for, which can be 2, 3, and 5 doubled, which would be 4, right? 6 and 10, and then any enhancement. So what the three strike law did was serve to continuously increase the sentences of individuals who could not curb their enthusiasm for committing crime, if you will, but it dramatically increased their crimes. And so for me, I say draconian because in my particular situation, I only had 1 prior prison term. So I never went to YA, you know, I never went to youth camp. I did 2 stints in juvenile hall on one for a bike theft and 1 for probation violation. And then my only other crime was a robbery in 1990 for which I went to prison for. And so when you think about 3 strikes and they're giving you 2 opportunities to reform before they impose the most harshest sentence on you, that didn't apply to me. So when you think about it in terms of baseball, I essentially went from first to third, never having touched second. I was denied a second opportunity to reform before given the most violent and strictest sentence that they could give me under the three strikes law. And might I add, for nonviolence.
Yeah,
You know,
that's well explained, man. You hit that right
you
on
know,
the nose, man. And
and
yeah,
I'm
that's
not
some
the
good
only
stuff.
one. There's thousands of us in prison who have not received a second opportunity to reform. And that's unconscionable, because when you think about any habitual criminal statute, the fundamental essence of its creation is the number of opportunities you get to reform before being deemed incorrigible and being given a life sentence. So if I only served one prior prison term, had one opportunity to reform, even under the provisions of the California Three Strikes Law, where's my second strike sentence at? I never received a second strike sentence.
So and I love this because I know you, right? And I love it. So I love the fact that you identified, hey man, we're inside of prison. We got together, right? We're going to the law library. We're going to learn some stuff. I'm going to get myself out of prison. I refuse to accept this 30-something years to life in prison for this three-strike law, right? You get home, you earn your freedom. What are you doing now about those three strikes?
So um, in 2000, on April 28th, 2020, I was paroled from San Quentin State Prison after being found suitable by the Board of Parole hearings in January. And since I've been home almost 4 years now, Erlon, which is a great friend of ours as well, we started the Repeal California's Three Strikes Coalition, which was originally Choose One, which is actually Choose One again, long story. But since I've been home, we started a Repeal California Three Strikes Coalition. And we actually put a proposition on, or attempted to put a proposition on the ballot in 2022 called the Three Strikes Left, the Left Behind Act of 2022 or 23, excuse me. And it was really dope, man, because I got an opportunity to like really do grassroots organizing, really hit the pavement and talk to people. And interestingly enough, when I was in prison, I used to always wonder, bro, how is it that so many people of color could suffer under such a draconian sentencing scheme like the Three Strikes Law and not receive help? But when I finally became a grassroots organizer and started operating within the streets, I started to see that many people are outright ignorant, right? Or just outright not concerned about things that affect them on a daily basis. And it was alarming.
Yeah.
The average person thought that three strikes was repealed under Proposition 36 in 2012. And other people thought that they just didn't use the law anymore. And other people just was like, oh, it's just so far removed from my mind that I don't even think about it. And it just really it educated me about the broader implications as a taxpayer, how our money is spent, right? And who is in control of the narrative of how our money gets spent. And so I made it a point, after we failed to qualify our petition on the ballot, to continue to educate people as to how harmful the California Three Strikes Law is. So to date, what I'm doing under Choose One with Erlon is creating a mini documentary called Faces of Three Strikes. And what Faces of Three Strikes will attempt to do, or will do, is show individual stories like mine, 5 or 6 individuals who are the most grossest violations of the Three Strikes Law, and just show people that even today in 2024, you still have over 33,000 people suffering in prison under this law, and over 3,400 of those people serving sentences for either non-violence or non-serious felonies, you know, at $90,000 to $100,000 a year. And as a taxpayer, man, it's a gross miscarriage of justice when it comes to how our funds are spent, especially when you drive around the city and we got potholes everywhere and just dilapidation and tents and all kinds of different stuff. And I mentor at schools, and kids are operating out of old textbooks and antiquated ideas about how to solve conflict, if conflict resolution is even taught in schools. And so as a taxpayer, I'm outraged and I'm offended in the same vein. But the way that I step up to the plate and address the issue is to become an organizer, is to get out in the streets and exemplify community with boots on the ground and make those substantive changes myself. And alongside individuals like George, who understand what it's like to be in some of the most oppressive environments and not have the help and assistance, but know what it could be like if we did.
Word.
And so I want to be the change that I want to see. And that's just my motivation.
Hey man, I promise you, brother. I tell you, every time I hear you speak, I just want to go, well, I tell you that all the time, right?
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
stop, man, I listen, right? And I can talk. Y'all know I can talk all day. But there's sometimes, man, when I'm hearing some people speak, bro, I have to just be quiet. You know what I mean? And this is not a session about three strikes and none of that things, but this is our brother's experience, right? This is a man who's advocating for your loved one who may be experiencing that right now, three strikes. This is him advocating and us advocating for your people's freedom, right? And the injustices that take place, right? So thank you for that. Yeah, I really appreciate it, man. Big time. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I agree with you, George. I didn't even have to ask no questions. He broke it all down.
Yeah, the
It just
brother
flowed.
Nah,
goes.
but I think it does though. Like, I mean, I served time under three strikes, right?
Yeah.
But my mother served time too, right? My mother had to come to a visiting room to visit me in some of the most remote places in California and be subject to the indignities of being humiliated by prison staff because she was my mother.
Yeah.
She came to see me out of love. She came to see me out of the fact that she was my mother. So why did she have to be subjected to the things that I was subjected to because I was branded a criminal and wearing blue in prison, right? And so it has broader implications, bro. When we think about the school to prison pipeline,
For sure.
our kids are intentionally being dumbed down. Our schools are being disinvested in, right? And so we got to think about how, when we think about school to prison pipeline, what that really looks like. Who are the individuals in prison? Very sharp people, very brilliant people, very smart people, very loving people, very compassionate people who just has not had the opportunity in most cases to be invested in.
That's what's up. Hey, that
You know
kind
what I'm saying?
that sort of segues into what I wanted to bring up, and I'm sorry to digress, but I
Go
really
ahead.
want to
No,
go
do it.
back to something, right? You talked about the youth that you encountered there. You talked about empowering young people. Can you give us, man, like, why do you, because right now, what do you do right now for the young people, and how does all that information, all that insight, all that knowledge, all that experience translate into helping these young people that you serve? And who do you serve as it relates to young people? And what are the methodologies? What do you do, bro? How do you take all that lived experience and give it to somebody else so they don't make the same mistakes as you or bad choices?
So, um, so to date, I teach financial literacy at the Juvenile Justice Center as well, because I also realize that uh, most of the young men that I encountered when I was incarcerated, including myself, crimes were financially motivated, right? Money crimes. And when you had conversations with individuals about their crimes, it was just this insatiable appetite to get it, get it, get it. And so I was just left wondering, when I started to go through my process of transformation, the get it mentality that often gets us in prison is a transferable skill set that if we repurpose it and use it in a more holistic way, can really serve us. So when I came home in April of 2020, I was fortunate to have a mentor from Impact Justice. And the brother asked me, he said, "Man, do you have Credit Karma on your phone?" And I was like, "No." He said, "Well, I implore you to get Credit Karma." I'm like, "Why?" He said, "Immediately start building your credit history."
Yeah.
I'm like 23. I'm like 48 at the time. I'm like, well, why? I'm like, screw credit, right? Credit is like loan sharking. He like, bro, listen, He say, do you want a new card one day? I'm like, yeah. He say, credit. He say, do you want a house or apartment at some credit? And so he just started going down this litany of this list. And I was like, damn, you need credit for everything. And so we started having these conversations on a weekly basis. And I got the Credit Karma. I got the bank card. I got the bank accounts and all of those things. Got the $250 credit line and increased it over time, right? Credit score started out at like a 600, and now it's like 8. And so it's like, just taking these steps. Somebody invested in me and I took that information and I was successful in the process, and it made it easier. It made my transition easier, right? To be financially rooted and putting those puzzle pieces in place, or those blocks in place, to start securing my financial future. And I have a long way to go, but I think the most important thing to start doing now, especially with the youth at the Juvenile Justice Center where I teach financial literacy, is start pouring it into them early so that they can have an understanding of what it takes to start building their roadmap to success, their financial roadmap to success even.
For sure. I love it.
That's nice. I had 2 things. I once interviewed someone, and they, I asked them how do you go about, what's their opinion on how we go about combating recidivism and juvenile crime, and he made a suggestion that I thought it made sense. It wasn't it was teaching them the law, repercussion of whatever the crimes, like if you commit this crime, you're gonna get this much time. If you commit, just break, how you give them financial literacy. It was teach them, because you said you band together a coalition and you guys learned the law as well.
Right.
And I thought that was a brilliant idea. And also, I wanted to ask you, can you let our viewers know how long you was incarcerated?
Yeah, most certainly. So I was incarcerated for 25 years on a 30-year sentence under the California 3 strikes law.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I do think it's important to I actually lost my train of thought on the second part of the question. But he was saying, man, can you repeat it?
The first part I was saying, it was similar to you educating the youth and juvenile halls financial literacy. This one was also letting them know the repercussion of their actions as far as the California law, because a lot of them is ignorant to how much time, because 3 strikes. I heard when 3 strikes first started, people was getting 25 life for stealing a loaf of bread or robbing a pizza man. A lot of them was ignorant to how much time carries a similar crime, certain crime.
Absolutely. You make a compelling point too, right? And one of the things I would say is I was interviewing a brother recently, and he was giving me some statistics on gun violence. And he said that when you teach responsible gun ownership to youth, they're less likely to use a gun, right? Because you understand the consequences. But more importantly too, right? When you're teaching gun ownership, or when you teaching individuals anything, financial literacy, whatever, if you're a good teacher, you're teaching consequences for choices and decisions that you make. If you have this kind of power to equalize a situation or give yourself the advantage, then you want to make sure that you are exercising the best knowledge under the circumstances that you can, and you're utilizing that to the best of your ability, right? And so, absolutely, right. I agree that you should put guns in youth's hands and let them hunt. And teach them a responsible gun ownership, teach financial literacy, teach about the laws, because those are the things that empower your decision-making process. They'll tell you ignorance is no excuse to the law, but they do everything that they can to keep you ignorant through misdirection, convoluting the law process with a whole bunch of flowery discourse, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm of the opinion, and which is one of the reasons why I also go into the JJC, is to empower the youth by pouring into them the information that they need to make better choices. Because once the light switch came on for me, and I started seeing how the algorithm of better choices work, is consistent and it works. And I'm sitting here as a process, you know what I'm saying, having a conversation with two beautiful brothers. And so a person can't tell me it don't work.
Yeah, that's what's
Yeah,
up.
You know?
yeah. That's
And
what's
so
up.
That's
my
beautiful,
motivation
man.
is because I know it works.
Yeah. You live in proof. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I just want to say I thank you, George, for inviting Yahya, John. Would you prefer to be called Yahya or John?
Oh, yeah. It's cool.
Okay.
Hey,
Yeah
Yeah.
is John in Arabic,
this
but
cat is so humble,
Okay.
bro. Like he
Yeah.
ain't gonna tell you, Emmanuel, all the things he's engaged in, all the things he's accomplished, and the things that
Yeah.
he's doing day to day,
Yeah.
man. And I love
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for inviting them, man. This is
absolutely,
I believe our viewers will really, we're really enjoying this
that's
because
what's
it's
up
very informative.
for sure.
I want to bend another corner if y'all got some time.
Oh yeah.
I want to kind of like, I just got an idea about something. It's something that me and George been talking about, right? And I think it's something that uh, should be discussed more, should be put on the table for returning citizens to really consider coming home, right? And it's institutionalization,
Yeah,
you know. And as humble as I am, as George would say, you know, I mean, I battle to this day, almost 4 years home with prison institutionalization. And so, what does that look like for me? Prison institutionalization for me looks like having the best opportunities to have interpersonal relationships outside within the community, but having emotional hurdles stand in the way of me fully developing those interpersonal relationships,
word.
right? So what does that look like for me? Being in a relationship with a beautiful lady, right? Married this person, beautiful children. When I first came into this relationship, the kids wanted to connect. They were overly curious, right? As kids should be. And when they would question me in my mind with what I thought was incessant questioning, I would get triggered.
Yeah,
Like, why you got to ask all these damn questions back to back to back? But then I started reaching out to people and questioning people about this. But I also realized that I also had a problem with authority, right? And what does that mean? I had a problem in prison with authority and being questioned by them, right? Because me being in blue and them being in green, the questions were always about suspect activity, suspicious activity, right? Scrutiny. Where
yeah,
you going, Mr. Johnson? I can't say none of your damn business to a CO. I could, but with consequences, right?
yeah.
And so I always had a problem with questions, but more importantly, going back and peeling back the layer of the onion, my mother was a verbal interrogator when I was growing up. And it would oftentimes make me aloof when
Yeah.
I had so many words to speak. And so I didn't want to answer questions. And so I had internalized this. So take prison, always being scrutinized by the enemy, so called, right? Always being scrutinized by the CO, never having a sense of privacy, never having a sense of person, right? Being questioned for me felt like it was a violation of my privacy because I had this unhealthy response to being questioned or asked questions. And the more I unpacked it, the more I start seeing, man, this is institutional based. You know what I'm saying? Not being able to have a voice inside, you know, and then just having to surrender every time someone in authority say surrender. And so I started showing up out here that way, bro. You know, being matter of factly, seeing too much, right? I was telling the young brother today, I say, bro, I should not be driving on a freeway and seeing another person in front of me in their car through their side view mirror and what color shirt they got on. That's too much vision. You know what I'm saying? But but I
Yeah.
understand it comes from survival though, right? It comes from being in fight mode in prison for so long and being able to read the yard in order to know what's coming, right? And
Yeah.
so, bruh, I struggle on a daily basis to try to abate that though.
Yeah.
right? So because I want to get to that point, bro, where I'm relaxed, I'm happy, I'm soft, right? Guard that, bro, I just started wearing Crocs outside.
Oh yeah. What color are they, bro?
You know what I'm saying? I just started wearing Crocs
What
outside.
colors
I
are
got like
those,
some
bro?
camouflage was like, right? Hold on.
What a man got camouflage crops? Bro, I ain't got the heart yet to put on no Crocs.
Hey, look though. Hey, look.
He really
Hey,
got the
hey,
Crocs.
hey, but watch this though.
Okay,
Hey,
I
but
love
this,
that.
hey, bro, we couldn't wear this outside of a cell, bro. We couldn't wear this to the shower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, if you got caught with something like this on in the day room, you was getting an issue, right? Bro, it took me 4 years to wear a flip-flop, something like this to the streets,
Yeah.
bro, because of that security.
Yeah.
And I found myself thinking about like, bro, why do I need to have some boots on at Costco? I mean, you know what I'm saying? And so I say, bro, put them Crocs on and wear them Crocs outside. And so it's just those little things that I catch myself tripping on. And then I have to say, you know what, bro, this is some prison shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
For
saying?
sure.
Or,
Yeah.
or, or this is institutionalization in some aspect because of a trauma that I encountered in prison or before that was exacerbated when I was in prison, right? And so I'm just slowly but surely catching those things and trying to root them out.
That's what's up. All right, look, this is what we're gonna do, right? No, I'm sorry. Y'all know me, man. I just kind of go all over the place, right? Yeah, yeah. It's a blessing to sit in this space with you and the brother Emmanuel, man. It's a
Yeah.
wealth of information you shared, brother. Like, I know, man, these viewers are gonna be really fed by everything you've shared today, brother. And we thank you for this. We got to do a part two to this,
For
right?
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Let's do a part
Definitely.
two, man. Let's pull
Yeah.
the big fella in there. Let's get this back on the books, right?
Yes.
Thank you for your
Yeah.
humility. Thank you for, I told you today, brother, your balance is an inspiration, bro, right? With the way you're handling your freedom, bro, the trials and tribulations that I'm intimately aware of, bro. I love the way you're handling this thing, and it motivates me, right? It inspires me to handle my stuff in the same regard, right? We talk about an
Thank
array
you.
of things, especially you're welcome, brother. You talked about institutionalization and all these different things, brother. Thank you. Thank you for demonstrating what it looks like to successfully assimilate back in the community, right? Living out your parole plans, staying true to the fact that you want to give back and be a servant to most and all people you encounter, in fact. So thank you for that, brother. Emmanuel?
For
Yeah, and
sure.
I want to thank you for being authentic, man. Because
Oh,
you talked about your struggles even today, and I appreciate that because those every returned citizen still has some institutionalization in them and catch
Oh, for
themselves.
sure.
So I
mhm.
got many of them, but we'll say that for part two, man. But
Oh yeah, because I
Hey,
want to get into depression.
yeah.
yeah,
So
but
let's do
I
this.
Yeah,
thank you for
nah.
being I thank you for simply being authentic.
No, for
Yeah,
real, man. Hey, man, that's the only way to receive truth in my book, man, is to be authentic, bro. You know what I'm
100%.
saying? So, and it's gonna land and hit your heart with the frequency that you at. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And so, and it's gonna penetrate and work for you in the moment where you at, and that's the best thing that I could hope for. You know?
Yeah, thank you, man.
Hey, bro, every time I hear you speak, another component, I always, bro, always feel like I need to start reading more.
Yeah,
Hey, brother, you see my shirt, right?
Yeah, I see her.
Do y'all know who this is?
yeah,
This is Alice Walker, or
Oh,
young Alice. You know, interesting. I got this shirt right 2 years ago. They had banned her at the Berkeley Book Festival for a statement that she made that they considered was in support of David Icke, who is a so-called anti-Semitic person. And so me and my partner was going to the Berkeley Book Festival to meet her and engage in, just the festival itself. And so when she was banned, we was trying to just figure out a way to show our support. And
yeah,
so we ordered the shirts and we put the rush delivery on them, and they didn't make it in time, right? And
yeah.
so I ended up getting it afterwards. But had some powerful conversations at that Berkeley Book Festival,
Ah,
just about our sentiments of censorship and how when we come together this way and speak our truth in such a heartfelt and impactful way, people who don't like that truth will try to cancel you. You know what I'm saying? everybody got an opinion, man. Everybody got a truth. And I think the mission for me is to get closer to people's truths, and the things that I agree about, incorporate into myself, transform myself with it. The things that I don't, it worked for them, and I got to let them work with that, right? And so that's just what it is. And so, yeah, I just love what she embodies, and she, has written masterfully. It's created, in my mind, the most greatest field to imagine. You know what I'm saying? And so I just respect it. And I just want to always put our sisters up who do monumental work in helping us to achieve the success and dreams that we need to as people of color in a world where, we suffer a lot, just for our creative ingenuity and genius. So, it is what it is.
Praise God. Thank you
Yeah.
for that, man. We're right here, Authors Inside. Tap in,
Yeah.
like our brother said. Hit that subscribe button. We need you. We're looking forward to just being able to be of service to you all.
Yeah, man. Hey, thank you, Yahya, man. Appreciate you,
Definitely,
man.
bro. It was a pleasure too, man. I look forward to part 2.
Part
Yes,
2.
sir. Definitely. You're a beautiful human being, man. Appreciate it, man.
All right, bro. All right, brothers.
All right. See
All
you
right.
next week, viewers.
Hey.
Camera off.